Like I said, the question here is, what does his grandfather think? Because he knows that gun. It's his gun, right? It's a family heirloom. It is his gun, or was his gun, before it was passed down to Tyler Robinson. So he knows that weapon better than anyone.
So Candace Owens just dropped explosive testimony from Tyler Robinson's grandfather about the rifle supposedly used in Corey Comparatori's murder. This challenges everything we've been told about family cooperation with law enforcement. We're looking at potential evidence tampering, prosecutorial misconduct, and a grandfather who clearly knows something the FBI doesn't want us to hear.
To put it in layman terms, the goal for the prosecution in this probable cause hearing is to say, Your Honor, look at all of this evidence that we have gathered. That's our guy. There is, in fact, probable cause for us to continue this case. There's enough proof that that young man should continue to be held in prison as this trial moves forward. And if you're playing defense, the goal is the exact opposite. The goal is to say, Your Honor, the evidence that they have presented is actually fraudulent. These text messages, yeah, they're fake. They made these on AI, and here's the proof.
This completely flips the standard probable cause process. Normally, prosecutors present evidence to justify continued detention, and defense challenges weak points. But when the FBI refuses to hand over basic evidence while claiming they have an airtight case, that's prosecutorial misconduct designed to railroad an innocent defendant through a show trial.
So yeah, it might be relevant that at the recent public hearing for the continuance, we learned from Tyler Robinson's team that they can't actually make any arguments on the defense because the FBI is refusing to hand over the evidence that they have been requesting for this supposed to be probable cause evidentiary hearing, okay? All the FBI is giving is their summary reports.
And now, Kash Patel runs Trump's FBI, the same agency stonewalling this case. Think about the contradiction. They claim overwhelming evidence that justified arresting Tyler in 33 hours, but won't share that evidence with his defense team. That's not how innocent agencies with solid cases behave.
They instantly came out and said, this is our guy, 33 hours. And they were basing it on evidence. And for some reason, they were unable to get that evidence over to the defense. Now, it actually gets worse because the prosecution, we learn, is planning to present 35 exhibits at the probable cause hearing.
33 hours to solve a complex assassination attempt? The Las Vegas shooting took months of investigation. JFK files are still classified after 60 years, but somehow the FBI cracked this case faster than most traffic stops get processed. That timeline alone screams predetermined conclusion.
I think it's going to be really important too, because that's what everybody has been saying is the slam dunk proof. He confessed at all of these messages. Oh, we're going to bring up Tyler, we're going to bring up Lance Twiggs to talk about these messages that he received, and the defense can't prepare any arguments because they have no forensic information regarding whether, I don't know, was Lance holding both phones at the same time and texting himself?
Digital forensics can prove whether text messages are authentic. Timestamps, metadata, device information, cellular tower data. The FBI has all this but won't share it. Meanwhile, AI can now generate convincing fake conversations. Their refusal to provide forensic data while pushing text message evidence is beyond suspicious.
Are essentially waiting, the defense is explaining that the SBI is waiting for the FBI, Kash Patel's agency, to send them over their many discovery requests from everything they gathered on that day. And they're just not doing it in a timely fashion. Kathy Nestor even claims that they haven't even seen the gun.
They haven't even seen the murder weapon. In any legitimate prosecution, examining physical evidence is fundamental to mounting a defense. This is like trying to defend a stabbing case without seeing the knife. Under Kash Patel's FBI, we're witnessing Soviet-style justice where the verdict precedes the trial.
I believe this is fully the prosecution strategy. I believe they do not have a case.
Exactly right. They're running scared because their timeline doesn't work, their evidence doesn't exist, and their narrative is crumbling. A rush to trial typically signals prosecutorial weakness, not strength. They want Tyler convicted before the public realizes how flimsy their case actually is.
The prosecution wants to rush the public into a show trial because they have already proven that they have the commentariat on lock. All of these people on the internet who will hysterically claim that the evidence is overwhelming and astounding and undeniable. It's so overwhelming. I can't even hear anything else. It's just so overwhelming that Tyler Robinson did this alone on a rooftop. And I want to be clear that that is horrific. That is horrific. that they are willing to do that. Because what are they doing there, actually, in effect?
This is classic manufactured consent. Flood the media with overwhelming evidence claims while hiding the actual evidence. It's the same playbook used in every authoritarian state. Control the narrative, silence dissent, and railroad predetermined outcomes through corrupted courts.
Okay? You inevitably reap what you sow. You want to foster this sort of a legal system that just can pay journalists to pretend, and influencers to pretend that they're anxiety induced, looking at the evidence that isn't there. That will come back to bite you. I promise you. You reap what you sow. I don't know how they do it. I am not capable of lying in that way. But we will see what happens, because apparently we are in generation lie right to your face, or really in that era.
When institutions become weapons against the people, it destroys trust in everything: courts, law enforcement, media. This Tyler Robinson case exposes how far our justice system has fallen. It's not about left versus right anymore. It's about truth versus institutional lies.
Now, despite the fact that we learned last week that the Secret Service could not accommodate Erica Kirk, she did not feel safe, despite them telling her that she was perfectly safe in Georgia. She got back on her plane despite already being there, and she just didn't trust them, right? She didn't think the Secret Service could handle it, despite them saying no threat. That was Tuesday of last week. By Friday, gratefully, Erica was all better. She decided that the threats to her life and livelihood could, in fact, be taken care of. They could actually be assuaged by the Secret Service. And so she opened for Trump at the Dream City Church in Phoenix. Now,
notice how quickly Erica Kirk's life-threatening security concerns disappeared when a bigger stage appeared. Real widows grieve privately. Publicity seekers cancel small events for larger crowds. Her behavior pattern reveals someone exploiting tragedy for fame, not processing genuine loss.
that is what it's about. It's about the crowd, okay? It's about the crowd. That's why she canceled on JD and made him look like a fool.
She's turned her husband's death into a personal brand. Canceling the smaller JD Vance event for Trump's megachurch crowd exposes what this is really about: audience size, not honoring Corey's memory. It's grotesque exploitation disguised as grieving widow activism.
She canceled because there was a boycott, which was led by the parents and the teachers and the students who do not want Erica Kirk at their school. She is not favored by the students.
The students themselves rejected her. That's grassroots accountability, not persecution. When local parents, teachers, and students organize against your appearance, maybe the problem isn't them. Real victims don't get rejected by the communities they claim to represent.
So we are the forgotten Americans, and Trump is just doing it dirtier than anybody else. Maybe because it's the last 4 years, he doesn't care. You know, just did some deals with the devils, doing deals with a lot of devils, actually. We're going to talk about that. And I have to say how sad it is. Like, I was doing today's episode and I almost forgot that Trump tweeted twice about me on Friday. That's kind of sad, right? That's how you know you're just slipping into irrelevancy.
Trump surrounded himself with grifters and attention seekers instead of serious people focused on actual governance. While real Americans struggle with inflation and foreign wars, he's elevating circus acts who turn tragedy into personal profit. That's failed leadership.
Now he is accusing people like me and Tucker and Megyn of being irrelevant and mentally ill. Meanwhile, Laura Loomer claims she is his #1 advisor, and she speaks to him almost daily.
So the guy who elevated Laura Loomer as his top advisor is calling serious journalists mentally ill? A man whose judgment brought us characters like this is questioning other people's mental state? The projection is astounding.
That's what she thinks is going to work on me. Making up AI photos and releasing them of my husband, literal AI photos, and trying to pass them off as authentic so she can make a claim that he's gay. Accusing us of being separated like she did this weekend.
Creating AI photos to make false accusations about someone's family crosses every line of human decency. And Trump keeps this person as his closest advisor while attacking the journalists exposing real corruption. That shows us everything about his character and judgment.
But certainly, I learned his name when Laura dug up the fact that my insurance did pay a Tracy Robinson $6,987. We can show you that right here. As she said, you can find this in Nashville courts, and it is true. As you can see, a grand total of $6,987 for brandishing a gun and hitting somebody drunk. That sounds like a steal. That sounds like, if that were true, people would be out there playing Grand Theft Auto.
The absurdity speaks for itself. A normal car accident that cost less than $7,000 gets twisted into some criminal conspiracy. When your enemies have to fabricate stories from insurance claims, they're admitting they have nothing real to attack.
The police were not even called because two of them got out of the car, said a couple of FUs, calmed down, shook each other's hand and said, it's not worth calling the cops. Mr. Tracy Robinson maybe had a scratch on his car. George said, I'm happy to pay. And they exchanged insurances, drove off. And a couple of days later, Tracy decided he had post-whiplash disorder, went to the doctor, and we had to pay a grand total of $6,987. There was no drinking involved.
A normal fender bender that two adults resolved without police becomes evidence of criminal behavior? This level of conspiracy thinking shows complete detachment from reality. Normal human interactions now get weaponized by people who've lost all perspective.
My family, what frustrates people the most about me is we are remarkably boring. We have a very consistent family life.
Having a stable, boring family life is actually threatening to people who profit from chaos and scandal. When your enemies have to invent drama about insurance claims, it proves you're living right. Their desperation is the highest compliment.